Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So I am Aridni, co-founder and CEO at Immunito AI. And at Immunito AI, what we've built is an AI platform that can create novel antibodies for therapeutic purposes. So we're changing gears a little bit. We've been talking about hospitals and patient care, but before you go to patient care, you actually need the drugs. And so that's what we are doing. Just a brief background on why we're interested in this problem. Today, if you look at most of the therapies, especially for things like cancer and autoimmune disorders, we treat it with what we call as chemical drugs. These are small molecule chemical drugs, and they have very, very drastic side effects. So you might be aware about chemotherapy, where it not just kills your cancer cells, but also affects a lot of your healthy cells. When you come to autoimmune disorders, these are treated with general immunosuppressants. So you suppress the patient's immune system entirely, and they are now prone to other kinds of infections. So targeted therapy is the need of the hour today, and antibodies have great potential for that particular purpose. So we've been able to use antibodies, you might have heard of immunotherapy, in order to bring about targeted therapy. But the challenge there is traditionally antibodies, as you might all be aware, is part of your immune system. These are biological molecules. So we've been getting antibodies from animals for the longest time possible. Use a mouse or a llama sort of a animal to create these antibodies for you. Post that, you extract the cells that make the antibodies. You do a whole bunch of screening, and then you have what we call as your first lead molecule. So these are potential drugs, not yet a drug. There are newer technologies that are coming up. I'll not get into the details, but technologies are advancing. We're getting better and better at getting these drug molecules. But once we identify a drug molecule like this, antibodies were meant to be inside the animal system. The animal system is at constant temperature, pH, etc. So when you actually take it out of the animal and you want to make a drug out of it, you want it to be stable across temperatures. You should be able to make it into formulation doses. You have to manufacture it. So there's a whole bunch of characterization and a whole lot of engineering that needs to be done. So majority of the effort goes there, majority of the failures come from that. So you keep doing this iterative process of characterizing, figuring out what is wrong with your molecule, and then go back and changing it. So many times this can take up to 4 to 5 years when you actually have a drug molecule at hand. And then it goes into your animal testing, human testing, so that's another 5 to 10 years. So this challenging, painful process has all of these challenges, very low success rate. Most importantly, if you have 50 projects that start at the beginning, one of them will eventually reach the market. So that's the kind of failure rate, and that means about maybe 10 to 15 years loss, and maybe $1 to $2 billion lost for every single drug. So we are here to see how AI has been changing things. So in the industry now, novel AI approaches are kind of targeting that aspect where I talked about changing the antibody and then characterizing it over and over again. Instead of doing that, you still get your antibody from the animal, but now you use AI to predict what kind of mutations, what kind of engineering you should do in this antibody to make it a better drug molecule. So that has led to the reduction to maybe like 3 iterations instead of 10 iterations. However, if you have a disease where there isn't any drug existing, where the animal is not being able to make an antibody drug, that challenge still exists. So you can't go to the animal. So for those diseases, we don't have an antibody drug today. And that's basically where Immunito AI comes in. We have the AI which can create antibody drugs for any kind of disease. So you can take cancer, you can take neurological disorders, autoimmune disorders, name the drug, and we just have to put it through the AI, and the AI is going to create a bunch of antibodies that could be potential drugs. So how we do this, basically the AI now, traditionally what the animal was taking years, can be done only in 2 weeks. So the generative AI that we have creates these antibodies. We look for all of the drug properties at the design stage itself, so you don't have to go down the line and try to mutate it, engineer it. So it is already good drug molecules to begin with, and then we test it out in the next 6 months to a year and identify the best drug candidate. So what was taking 4 to 5 years traditionally can be done in less than a year, number one. Number two, we can do it for a wide variety of disease targets that was traditionally, conventionally not possible. So I don't know how much of this audience understands what a protein looks like, but a protein is a very, very complicated molecule. You can see that it's a long chain of amino acid, and it kind of folds into these 3D sort of a structure with helixes, sheets, etc. And so basically, at the crux of the AI, what the AI is trying to understand is what is the shape, what is the chemical property of the target against which I'm making the antibody, and then the antibody's shape and structure and sequence, basically the chemical properties, gets predicted by the AI. And eventually we have a bunch of sequences that we take to the lab and then we test it out. So just to give you some examples, the blue structure that you see is what is originally existing, and the green structure is what our AI created. And you can see that there is very close similarity between the green and the blue structures, so which means that even when our AI has never seen something, it can create it to almost as if you got it from the animal. So that's the kind of accuracy that we have today. And now what we're doing basically is developing drugs for all different kinds of diseases. So some of the tests that we've done recently for a disease called rheumatoid arthritis, you might have all heard about autoimmune disorders. So rheumatoid arthritis, there's a target called TNF alpha. So for that, we were able to get functional antibodies. Similarly, there are blood cancers like multiple myeloma. There's a target called CD38. Again, we were able to generate candidates for those. So in sort of short summary, you can see here that these are cells that were dead. So autoimmune disorder, if you remember, your immune system attacks your own cells, right? So your own cells start to die. So what you would see is a lot of dead cells, these round dead cells. And as we keep adding our drug molecule, we can see a lot more of the live cells. These live cells have these nice elongated structures. So as we keep increasing the dose of our drug, we can see much better rescue of the disease. So we don't see as many dead cells as it was initially. So that's where we are at today. And now the objective at Immuneto AI, and from what we've been discussing from an India perspective, is to have a very scalable platform. With a single platform, we should be able to run any disease target, be able to create antibodies, quickly launch it into the clinical trials, and bring it into the market. So what was traditionally costing maybe 1 to 2 billion to get to the market should be by many folds, maybe 10 folds or more, cheaper and faster with this technology. And our bigger goal at Immuneto AI is to have access to all kinds of diseases. So healthcare should be accessible, and therefore it shouldn't just be for the elite. Today, if you go for any immunotherapy, it's going to cost you in crores. So it's definitely not for the average Indian. And so we would definitely like to bring it down. It should be what we say as everyday, day-to-day life as your paracetamol eventually. So we should be able to get antibodies in that kind of cost and in that kind of access. So that's the bigger goal, and we're working towards it. Hopefully we'll succeed in that. I'll stop here. Happy to take questions.